Vamos a reaccionar. No sé si se acuerdan que anteriormente ya habíamos reaccionado a una parte así, pero a 15 cosas más increíbles que se solían hacer en Apex Legends. Vamos a ver.
Thanks to EA for sponsoring this video. I recently made a video on 20 unbelievable things that used to be in Apex Legends, but there were lots of comments from you guys mentioning other things that I left out. So here are 15 more unbelievable things that used to be in Apex. Let's go. Number 1. In the first few seasons, Mirage was very different to how he is today. Back in the day when he would use his ult, Mirage would have decoys just stand in a circle and they wouldn't move, but Mirage would go invisible for a few seconds and then you could manually select when you wanted to decloak. If you didn't manually select this after a few seconds, the invisibility would wear off, but this ultimate allowed for Mirage to pull off some pretty crazy flanks.
Bueno, ya regresó, ¿no? A día de hoy pues ya medio regresó su habilidad, pero como que antes era diferente.
Also wasn't nearly as good. The decoys couldn't be controlled like they can be now. They didn't
antes los decoys no se podían controlar en lo absoluto.
One shot, they would be taken out. So it is safe to say Mirage is much better these days than he was in the very early season.
Y si un día piensan que Mirage es inútil, de verdad nunca usaron al Mirage de la temporada 0.
However, I know a
Duraba
lot
mucho
of
su
players
invisibilidad,
miss
sí es
that
correcto.
ultimate, but I think that's nostalgia speaking because his ult is definitely better these days.
Sí, totalmente. O sea, quien diga a día de hoy que antes Mirage era mejor, la verdad es que está hablando con la nostalgia, porque Mirage hoy en día es la mejor versión que ha tenido, en especial con el tema de los perks.
Number 2. Up until season 3, I believe, you could equip the 3x and the 2 to 4x with
sí,
like
cuando le podías poner miras bien largas a los subfusiles, estaba bien cabrón.
But it is pretty crazy to see some of the clips during these seasons. I mean, the R99 with the 3x actually looked like it was shredding in these clips here. It is also pretty funny that there was a 2 to 4x you could put on an alternator, because I just can't imagine using that in today's Apex. Number 3, Lifeline used to have fast heals as one of her passives.
Ajá, sí es cierto. Se curaba rápido.
Has changed over the seasons in my last video, but in this video I never talked about the fast heal and also how her drone and care package were not nearly as good as they are now. Her drone used to heal very slowly, and it would take
también era muy lento el drone
to even pull the drone out and for the healing to begin. Now, most of you are probably familiar with how they've buffed her care package, but initially this ability used to have a 6-minute cooldown and give you much less than it.
Sí, antes Lifeline tenía cosas como pros, como contras, como eso de que su drone te curaba muy lento, primera. Segunda, su habilidad ultimate tardaba muchísimo en cargar. Realmente había muchas cosas que no tenían sentido con Lifeline. Incluso te traía cosas muy X, ¿saben? O sea, es muy cierto eso. Le hicieron un rework en la Season 5. Prácticamente, Neon. A ella, a Mirage y no me acuerdo qué otras leyendas. La pelona era mejor antes. Ahí sí estaba rota. Sí, Solar. A ver si ahorita lo mencionan.
Today, I know a lot of players miss the old Lifeline revive, but in every other regard, she is much better these days. Number 4, I mentioned in my last video that gold armor used to give you fast healing, and it was pretty insane. But this was in season 3, and some of you pointed out that before this, gold armor did something much different. It was actually gold backpack that gave you fast healing from seasons 1 and 2. They changed this in season 3. Gold armor actually only used to replenish your shield if you executed an enemy with a finisher. We know today that a finisher...
Sí, el escudo dorado antes solo servía para rellenar tu escudo si ejecutabas a un enemigo. No tenía la gran ciencia un escudo dorado. Y te recargabas rápido por la pasiva de la mochila y también por la pasiva que tenía Lifeline.
Does this on any armor. So it's pretty crazy to think about how different gold armor was before season 3. They also then changed gold backpack to be the Guardian Angel perk, which is what the gold knockdown does today, which revives allies with half shield and half health. It's pretty confusing when I lay it all. Say the gold items are much more balanced out now. Number 5, in season 2, Apex released the hop-up disruptor rounds. Now this could go on the alternator and the RE45 and was quickly a fan favorite. It was very strong though, so for that reason, it was pretty short-lived, because in season 3 they then removed this, and then sometime in the later seasons...
Regresó después el disruptor, pero ya no ha sido lo mismo. O sea, ahorita en la actualidad está el disruptor, pero la verdad es que nada que ver con lo que era en un inicio.
And then most recently, the RE45 went into the care package. Both of them went into the care package with disruptor rounds equipped. I remember season 2 with the disruptors, and on floor loot, this was definitely a pretty crazy time. Important to note that disruptor rounds did the opposite to what hammer points do, so they increased damage on the shield of enemies. And with the alternator, it made the time to kill very quick. Number 6, at the beginning of season 6, Apex decided to change the armor.
Uno de los primeros cambios o reworks que hicieron pusieron en los escudos, sí.
Intervals by 25. This meant white was now 25, blue was 50.
Sí, ese cambio recuerdo que lo tuvieron que revertir como a la semana porque no le gustó a nadie. Le quitaron 25 de vida a todos los escudos y agregaron el escudo rojo y ese era el único que tenía 4 barras de vida. Ya después mejor le agregaron a todos más 25 y el escudo rojo era el único que tenía 5 barras de vida.
75 and red was 100. If you were around during this time, then you would know that this change was very short-lived. Apex was definitely testing to see how different this would make the game feel, and I think they found out their answer pretty quickly.
No se los voy a negar, me daba miedo que en esta temporada fueran a hacer algo parecido, que no nos gustara lo de los escudos y Respawn lo tuviera que revertir, pero veo muy contenta a la gente, incluso yo estoy feliz con el nuevo cambio, está muy bien y dudo que lo vayan a revertir a como estaban. Excelentes decisiones ha tomado Respawn, la verdad.
I don't remember how quickly they reverted this change, but I want to say it was within 1 to 2 weeks. I remember during this armor change that the game felt significantly different. I think Apex, with its normal time to kill, is what helps make Apex feel like Apex. If it turns into a game with a much quicker time to kill, then it feels less like the game that I think we know.
Sí, es que Apex con su time to kill es definitivamente lo que hace que Apex se sienta como Apex. Así es, antes no existían las balas de francotirador, se usaban las balas pesadas. Buen punto, Elias. Sí le sabes, eres Solf.
Love today. So I'm super glad they changed this armor back, and it is what it is today. Number 7. In the first few seasons, Bloodhound was not nearly as good as they are now.
Sí, no era horrible.
Things were different. First, the scan was static, so you
sí, estaba feo el escaneo.
where the player was, and it wouldn't actively track them for a few seconds like it does now. The time it took to scan and use their ultimate was much longer. The speed boost from the ultimate wasn't as fast as it is now, and it wouldn't tell you how many enemies were scanned at the top of the screen like it does now. It wasn't until season 6 where Bloodhound became very popular.
O sea, le tomó 6 temporadas a Bloodhound tener el actual escaneo. Yo creí que habían sido como 3 temporadas.
And that's when they made the scan and the ultimate much better. They made the ult give you more scans and faster scans. Now, they recently took that away, but at that time, this buffed Bloodhound very significantly, and since then, Bloodhound has...
Sí, porque antes nada más rastreabas a los enemigos y salía una imagen de dónde estaban los enemigos, pero nada más. Ahora en la actualidad ven que le sale un diamantito a los enemigos y aparte sale un momento así como que el rastreo, pero literalmente lo que están haciendo en el preciso momento. No, es Bloodhound neta el menos usado, cuando nadie quería la Mozambique también, Prince. Hasta había una animación donde azotaban la Mozambique cuando la cambiabas.
Still remained a very strong pick. Number 8. 4 of the legends used to have this perk called low profile, and this was for the smallest legends.
Sí, la pasiva del perfil bajo. Recibían más daño porque estaban más chiquitas, la lifeline y la great.
Pathfinder, Wraith, Lifeline. These 4 all had the smallest hitboxes, so they took 5% more damage in a trade-off for having those hitboxes. This was then changed first in Season 8 when they adjusted Pathfinder's hitbox, made it a bit bigger, and removed the low profile from him. And then in the subsequent seasons, they just removed low profile from the rest of the other 3 legends. Number 9. All healing items used to stack more per backpack slot. It used to be kind of like...
Sí, de eso también me acuerdo.
Like what the gold bag is now. You were able to carry 3 batteries and 3 medkits per backpack slot, and then for small heals, you were able to carry 6 cells and 6 syringes. We now obviously know it to be 4 per slot for small heals and 2 per...
Es que todo eso, dense cuenta, ha tenido que evolucionar a pasivas de algunos objetos legendarios o en la actualidad algunos perks.
Slot for big heals, unless of course you have the gold backpack. Number 10. Rampart was not as strong as she is today.
Sí, de hecho, Rampart en un inicio era inútil completamente. Ya se volvió fuerte en la actualidad, sí.
Also, her walls weren't as strong as they are today. They took much less damage to destroy, and they took more time to activate and fully come up. While the wall changes may not seem like big deals on the surface, they have definitely improved this legend and made her way more dynamic. In the initial seasons after her release, she felt pretty underwhelming. But I know Apex learns from the releases of legends either being too weak or too strong, and they try their best to adjust accordingly. I think it's fair to say Rampart's in a much better state than she was upon release. Number 11. Gibby used to be much more overpowered. We're still kind of used to
verdad, Gibraltar estaba más fuerte.
A bit weird to say, but in Season 3 they made it so that teammates in the dome healed 25% faster. They also increased the distance in which Gibby could throw his bubble and his ultimate, and they decreased the cooldown on his ultimate down to 3 minutes. minutes. It's now higher than that. However, it didn't end there. In Season 4, they added Gibby's special revive animation in the bubble, which made him be able to revive allies much
eso
faster
como le tiró el
than
par a
animation.
Gibraltar,
And also, his arm shield used to take more damage, but it also had no bleed through, meaning one Kraber shot could be tanked with just this arm shield. And lastly, his bubble used to last 18 seconds instead of the 12 seconds it lasts for now. So Gibby was the ultimate tank back in the day. Number 12. For many seasons, caustic traps couldn't be broken once they were activated. This made his traps very frustrating.
Sí, es cierto. Las trampas de... Ya no me acordaba de eso. Las trampas de caustic antes no se podían romper. Ya una vez activadas. Ese cambio creo que le vino a dar en la madre, ¿no?
And also, during a period of time, his gas damage would stack. So combining his traps and his ultimate would take the enemy down surprisingly.
Sí, es cierto.
Quick.
Se stackeaba el daño del humo, ¿verdad? Antes con caustic.
If they underestimated the Nox gas, especially during Season 7 when his gas damage was increased to a scaling 6 to 12 damage per tick in a trade-off for enemies not having their vision blurred while in the gas. They ended up changing this in the later seasons, but it is interesting to think back on how Caustic and all these other legends have changed drastically. Now speaking of that, let's talk about number 13. When Loba first released, taking ammo from her ultimate counted as one of the 2 items you get to pick from it. It wasn't until Season 7 when Apex changed it so anyone using the black market could take unlimited ammo from it. This was an awesome change that Apex
sí, es cierto,
made. It was really a staple
Ese cambio de Loba como vino a cambiarla totalmente,
so useful during games. Number 14. When the Sentinel first released in Season 4, it not only took a shield battery to charge it up, but the amped bullets only applied
sí,
to
es cierto.
and not an overall damage increase. The base damage was also only 70, where now it is 88. These 2 changes came in Season 7 and were huge, but it wasn't until a little later on when they
sí, la Sentinel también ha recibido cambios muy importantes,
until recently they made it so that only one shield cell was needed to charge it. It's really crazy.
Necesitabas una pilota de las grandes, ¿no?
For the better. Number 15. It wasn't until Season 8 that Apex added gold magazines. And this change, albeit
sí es cierto, hasta la temporada 8, ¿verdad? Se tardaron mucho en agregar cargadores dorados.
Kind of small has reshaped how fights can actually play out.
Y estuvo bueno ese cambio, de los mejores que han hecho.
Clutch in those moments where you need to swap back to the weapon after already swapping to your secondary, but not having enough time to reload your primary, and you're in that crucial moment of a fight. This was a change that Apex definitely hit the mark on, and I'm glad gold mags are still in the game to this day. I can't really imagine what Apex would feel like if gold magazines weren't ever in the game, but I do remember when this change came out, I thought they were going to be really overpowered, but it's actually been one of the better things Apex has ever added. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to learn all about how to improve your game sense in Apex, I suggest...
No, definitivamente Apex ha cambiado y mucho, de verdad ha cambiado mucho. Es como ver crecer a un hijo. Pues ya 5 años. Sí, o sea, mucha gente a lo mejor podría decir que Apex no se actualiza, pero si comparamos el Apex de la temporada 1 con el Apex actual, definitivamente ha habido muchos cambios. Y algunos de esos cambios se han ido, otros han regresado, entonces ha sido una constante montaña rusa de actualizaciones, la verdad.